All right, so 4th of July. What are we going to talk about, girls and boys? Well, so what we're going to talk about is American Exceptionalism. You know, when we think about the birth of our country, we talk about people like President Washington, General Washington. We talk about Thomas Jefferson. We talk about Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin never even picked up a gun. Newspaper man. And when we talk about them like they did it all on their own. We have this terrible habit of writing our history like it was one guy. It wasn't one guy, it was all of us. There was some farmer who didn't want to be serving his state as a governor or anything. He wanted no part of it. But boy, him and his sons went and fought that American Revolution because they couldn't afford taxes and they needed to be able to feed their own kids. We don't talk about them. We don't even know their names. Lost in the annals of history. Yes, that was intentional. And then we talk about, the Civil War. Same thing. We talk about Lincoln, we talk about Grant. Do we talk about that one guy who ran across the field in order to save the lives of his fellow Union soldiers who basically sacrificed his own life to ensure the Union held the line? Do we talk about the bomber squadrons in World War II by name? Most of us don't even know the names of the planes. I didn't even bother to double check anything just so I would be able to be in the same boat as you are right now trying to think. Unless you had a family member in one of those bombers, you don't know any of their names. You may or may not know that those bombers had a life expectancy of less than 20%, 30%, depending on where they were serving. You might not even know that they were so fed up with the fighter groups, the white ones, not showing up, that they intentionally, when they found out that they were going to Berlin and facing the Luftwaffe right there at home, they intentionally went and asked for the Red Tails, the Tuskegee Airmen. If you know all of that, that's good. Thank you. That's awesome that you do. But now name me a Tuskegee Airman that was a red tail. I could tell you the story of who trained the red tails, but I can't even think of his name. I'll look it up if I have to, but I'm trying to prove a point by not looking this stuff up. Even as much as I know, I can't name one of their names right off the top of my head. We forget about those people and we let the rich guys write their version of our history. Okay, fine. Right? Right? So I thought, if I'm going to talk about American exceptionalism and how spectacularly wonderful we are, do I talk about the American dream? I've already talked about it. It's why people want to come here. But American exceptionalism, how do I talk about American exceptionalism? Well, I'm going to give you an example of American exceptionalism. Talk to you about one of my heroes. I think that's the best way to show, yeah, we're a bunch of fuck-ups when it comes right down to it. But we are exceptional. We don't always listen to the angel on the shoulder. We aren't always the best. We've failed, but we're a young nation. England was founded in 950, give or take. The United States is a baby comparatively. So, I'm going to tell you about my hero, one of them. Yeah. United States naval officer. And his story, or at least the story I'm going to tell, starts with USS Forrestal. He's a Navy pilot And the USS Forrestal was one of our aircraft carriers. And one of the worst fires in U.S. naval history took place on the USS Forrestal. And he was on the launch. He was the pilot that was ready to launch at the time the fire broke out. And in amazing exceptionalism, Marines and sailors ran to put this fire out, and they were throwing water and they were doing whatever they could. And it was exceptional. It was also the hugest blunder in naval history because the water spread the oil and the JP5, which was aircraft gasoline, all over the deck and spread the fire like wildfire. That pilot, he sustained 40% burns all over his body. He jumped out of his plane, grabbed his plane captain, this guy who helps launch the plane and direct him out. And he was badly burned, engulfed. And the pilot that I'm talking about, this hero of mine, he grabbed him and took him down to sickbay. All those men that were injured that day, they all got sent back stateside, for proper medical care. And when this guy was healed, he's a Navy pilot. He's a hero now, supposedly. And he's offered cush job, liaison between Congress and the United States Navy Pentagon. Right? Cushy. This is a flyboy. If you've ever met a flyboy, you know this is not happening. Flyboys want to fly for the rest of their lives. And this one was no exception. He wanted to go back to flying. So he did. He went out of his way, pass all of the extra tests, and get back to being fully reinstated with no medical hindrance. And he did. And he went on to serve and fly multiple sorties in Vietnam. And then he was shot down in Vietnam. He ejected late. He was captured on the ground and beaten almost to death. Some weird twist of fate, he didn't actually end up dead. So they took him and threw him on a slab. And they left him there for a couple of weeks, and they gave him water and whatever, but they just thought he was going to die, didn't care. Until the United States government took notice and contacted the American Red Cross and the International Red Cross to exact his exchange to get him out of the Hanoi Hilton. Photos in Life magazine. No joke. And when the American Red Cross and the International Red Cross went to get him, in true American exceptionalism, he refused to leave. He was not leaving those men in the Hanoi Hilton. Oh, he could have. He absolutely could have. But if he had, the Red Cross wouldn't have had access. So all those men in the Hanoi Hilton, from the United States primarily, but several of our allies, he saved a lot of lives by making that decision and staying there for another 5 years. That man was given that benefit because his daddy and his granddaddy were both active duty admirals at the time. He didn't get it just because he was special. But he chose to stay, even with, that little angel saying, stay, 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 help everyone. A little devil on the shoulder going, no, fuck it, save yourself. In typical American exceptionalism, his better angel got him. And he stayed. That man would become, who most of you know as Senator John McCain. I'll say his name again. Senator John McCain. What a wonderful story of American exceptionalism. He wasn't really technically a rich boy per se either, right? He was the admiral's son. He wasn't poor, but he certainly wasn't like, But we don't like to talk about that kind of exceptionalism unless it's leaders and rich, and somehow a draft dodging piece of shit gets to sully the name of American exceptionalism for personal greed. And if one of you is going to repeat that old wives' tale that some Vietnam vet told you that he had served in the Hanoi Hilton with John McCain, and the McCain was a traitor. I met this man. Or one of them. But the one I met out of Georgia, that shitbag never even served in Vietnam, let alone as a POW in the Hanoi Hilton. And I suspect that every story that you ever heard from somebody claiming that was them is full of shit. So on July 4th, let me just tell you, American exceptionalism is not some rich guy telling you how wonderful he is and what he supposedly is going to do for you that he still hasn't done for you in over 8 years. American exceptionalism is keeping your goddamn word and doing it and blundering along the way if you have to. That's what's made us great. Hell, Normandy, they expected, I'm not even making this up, they expected losses of 90% of the airborne. 90%. American exceptionalism is being greater than that. Those guys landed at rates of like 60% plus. We lost a lot of them. We don't talk about that. American exceptionalism is for all our blunders, for all our screw-ups, for everything we do wrong. God, look at what is amazing when we come together and we do it right. This 4th of July, get it in your heads for a change that united we stand, divided we fall. And it's all fine for you to have a different opinion about facts. It's not okay to throw the facts away and make your opinions facts, because your opinions are not. That guy could tell me till he's blue in the face. When I told him I got his records, I knew exactly who he was. I could prove he wasn't in Vietnam even. He clammed up, he walked away, put his tail between his legs and shut the fuck up. Please don't lie. Don't make up shit when you don't know. That doesn't make us exceptional. It makes us below average. What makes us exceptional is, well, we fucked up. We fuck up all the time. Historically, we have messed up a lot of things. Ask any other country. Except Britain. I think they'll always sing our praises no matter what. But we're like their child to them in a way. But we are exceptional. We are exceptional because of those of us that step up to do something amazing. And it's not just onesie-twosies, but they are the unsung and normally unspoken heroes. Don't disrespect our memory as a nation for a draft-dodging pig. Peace. Happy 4th of July, America.